Hello and welcome to FG Rides, coming from beautiful Pennsylvania, USA. A little gloomy today. The weather's gloomy, not me. I'm in a good mood. I had a great experience this morning. I had a job interview at a state correctional institution. That's what they call it. That's what they call state prisons here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. SCI. It was for a more or less administrative job, not for a corrections officer. That's not something I don't think I could do. It's not something I think I could do. Anyway, I wanted to tell you about it because it was really, really interesting. I've never interviewed for a civil service job, anything at a correctional facility, nothing like that. So I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the offices would be like. The interview process, I didn't know whether you had to get searched when you went in, which I got clear directions to not bring any personal items in other than my ID. Everything else had to be locked into the car. They didn't search me at all. I mean, they didn't even ask me to empty my pockets when I went into the administrative building, which is on the campus of the prison, but not where inmates are housed at all. Kind of a not the most attractive building. Somebody made a stab at making it kind of neat. The steps curved a little bit when you went in. Anyway, there was a reception area. Odd name for a place in a prison. But yeah, reception area at the front. And I gave them my name. They said, okay, you're here for an interview. Have a seat. They'll be down for you. This was like a 2-story building. So I sat down. There was a television mounted to the wall. And I just sat there looking at it, and after a few minutes, it occurred to me it was a channel that is dedicated to shows like World's Greatest Police Adventures and, Bad Boys. I thought, how is it appropriate or coincidental? Or just nothing random that the TV station in a prison waiting room is tuned to shows where people are getting arrested. It made me laugh. I sat there grinning the whole time I waited, which was about 10 minutes. A gentleman came down the stairs to retrieve me and introduced himself. While we were going up the stairs, he said to me, most people, this is something I ask everybody, most people try to stay away from prisons. Why would you want to come here to work? And I said to him, I'm not sure that I do want to come here to work. I was just being honest. And I got a bad vibe. I didn't think he liked that answer. I think maybe he thought I was being a smart aleck, and I wasn't. I was just stating the truth. So we go in the room. It's all the way at the other end of the building. He had left the door open, and there were 2 other people in there. 2 other, there were like middle-aged white ladies. The guy that escorted me was a black gentleman. So they introduced themselves. They seemed friendly, relatively personable, and they gave me a sheet of paper with the job description and another packet that outlined the questions they were going to ask me. And they said, these are the questions we're going to ask you. We have 20 minutes allotted for the interview, and that's it. If we don't get through all the questions, that's where we leave it. So I said, okay. And they said, do you have any questions before we start? Any questions for us? I said, no, I don't have any questions, I guess, but I do have a comment. Yeah, probably a bad idea. I said, I thought it was funny, peculiar, that in a prison waiting room, you have videos of people being arrested playing on the TV. I said, is that intentional? And they said, oh, no, they just watch whatever they want to down there in the admissions area or the reception area. I said, okay. So they asked me questions. Some of them were good questions about how I might apply a previous experience to the job responsibilities as described to me or that were in the description, the job description. But then there were some clunkers as well. Like, what quality could you bring to this position that another person couldn't? And I said, well, couldn't? I mean, how can I determine, another person's ability? I mean, I had the same basic human characteristics as anybody. It's not like I have a superpower. I didn't say that to them, but I was a bit stymied. Another one they asked me, which was really horrible. How would you prioritize your duties? When I had no idea what the priorities are of this. The job was record specialist. And I said, well, I would have to learn the priorities and then adjust them accordingly, I suppose. I don't know what you're looking for. I don't know how this works. What is a priority? I said, I guess if there was some kind of emergency, I would immediately take care of that. They asked how I would deal with an angry and or threatening inmate. And I basically didn't have much of an answer other than not escalating, which I've had experience with that in another setting, another job setting, for a drug and alcohol rehab, where you would go ahead. Unfortunately, you had to deal with some unhappy people, and it wasn't necessarily that they were mean, but I mean, they were facing at least a period of time without their drug of choice, this crutch, something that's been, very dear to them, kind of that they've seen as essential for surviving. I'm getting off track now, but that was about the best answer I had for that. I did relate that I had to coach people on how to deal with conflicts. And I did point out, they did say angry or threatening, not, assaultive, that's a whole other level. I'm glad they didn't ask me that. I would have had to say, what would I do in a situation with an assaultive inmate? I guess I'd just get beat up, Anyway, the three people, guy, lady, the one in front of me, I couldn't read her at all. Whether she wrote the most. She made a lot of notes when I was answering. And I appreciated that, but I thought maybe I wanted to forget some of this shit I'm saying. The one on the right smiled a lot and seemed to appreciate my honesty anyway. And the guy on the left, he I couldn't read him at all. I think I offended him a little bit somehow with my answer to his initial question when we were making our way to the interview room. Hi there. Another question they asked, which is a classic and possibly the most insanely useless question any interviewer can ask an interviewee, is about your best and worst qualities, or your strengths and weaknesses. Describe your strengths and weaknesses. And I didn't say, hey, look, this question is idiotic. That's what I really wanted to say. So I wasn't completely honest, but I said, look, what I came up with in the moment was, I said, well, I do crave approval, which I guess can be counted as both a strength and a weakness at the same time. And I left it at that. My wife has a great answer for that question, which she revealed to me after the interview. Thanks, honey. She says that she will say, if I get, I'm paraphrasing here, if something irritates me at work, I internalize it, and that comes out in other areas of my life. That is a great answer. I think it is, anyway. But what do I know? I don't know what these people are looking for. I don't know what the Commonwealth is looking for when it asks these questions. Now, I had never been interviewed by a panel before. It's always been one-on-one. And I found it very difficult, even though they took turns answering questions, that did give me kind of a cue as to who to look at primarily. But you're shifting from person to person, and is somebody going to get offended and give you a red X because you looked at person Y more than person W? Or, I don't know. I don't know these things. Oh, at least it wasn't AI. At least it wasn't, punch these answers in and we'll decide whether you're a suitable candidate, or your artificial intelligence will decide whether you're a suitable candidate. Upstairs, the place looked like a Soviet era structure. I mean, gray cylinder walls, really dismal. It looked like they might have housed inmates in there at some point, maybe trustees. The doors were wooden, though. They were not iron doors, steel doors. They weren't bars. Really an odd place. After the interview, I'm really not sure whether I want to work there at all. I don't know whether I will get offered the job, but if I do, it's going to be a tough decision, The really the best thing about it is the hours. 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Oh, I haven't had hours like that in quite a while. And it's relatively close to my house. As close as just about anything else. I'm accustomed to driving 40 to 50 miles one way to go to work. And this isn't that far. So yeah, maybe. Anyway, I just wanted to share a little bit of my experience with you. It was a lot of fun. I greatly enjoyed the interview, the whole experience. Okay, hey, you folks have a good day. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.